Israel look into a scenario in which the Middle East and the Indian subcontinent go to war. And the Middle East, I decide to use those countries. Some people would consider the Caucasus in, but I don't. Could consider Sudan or Libya in. Some people do. Turkmenistan too, but I don't. So I consider the Middle East. Egypt to Iran, from Turkey to Yemen. Well, let's see how it goes. Well, the red team started the war, so they start the invasion. As they start an invasion of southern Pakistan. Well, probably southwestern. Southwestern yet. And northwestern Afghanistan. No, I wouldn't say that. As they start moving into Afghanistan. And pretty much end up occupying it all. As they manage to take the city of Kabul. A few pockets are left behind, but that shouldn't be too much of a big deal. As they manage to take Afghanistan out. Only a few pockets left, those shouldn't be that big of a deal. Right now they aren't. As they start marching towards Karachi. The Battle of Karachi has broken out at the same time as the Battle of Islamabad. And the blue team probably isn't fully mobilized because Islamabad falls and Karachi crumbles. Well, Pakistan is pretty much occupied by what's left of India's army in Pakistan. Well, some more mobilizations needed as well. India is eventually kicked fully out of Pakistan. India's still not ready, but once they get ready, they're unstoppable. And well, once they have fully mobilized, these offensives will be meaningless. As they somehow manage to take the capital of India, but India still doesn't surrender, knowing that they can still win. But their army up there did surrender. But as we know, they're going to continue into India. As India's starting to get mobilized, they have about 2 million troops ready, but that's only enough to create a stalemate. So then it gets to 3 million after a while. As well, it will take a few months to get the troops ready. So as this is happening, well, they eventually get enough in their army to push back at a few million. How'd they do that? Well, probably quick mobilization, but not too quick. That's why they got pushed back quite far. But as India starts pushing them back, struggles happen in Afghanistan. Yeah, you know these pockets I mentioned earlier? Well, they're starting to kick them out and break up supply lines in Afghanistan. So, well, yeah. You can't occupy Afghanistan. I guess Iran didn't hear that. And, well, Delhi falls back under India's hands. And the government's still down in Mumbai. With the Middle East slowly getting pushed back, but they are getting pushed back. And fearing encirclement in the north, they pull out of the north. Because Afghanistan's doing pretty well. Afghan rebels. With Karachi being encircled by India's forces. And well, Middle East forces start withdrawing from it, but then India's forces move in towards Islamabad. And they encircle Islamabad. And this leads to the fall of it. Which leads pretty much to the collapse of occupation in India. And while they finally encircle Pakistan, and they start moving along the coast to keep troops from escaping, and then they move in with the city falling. With the front line becoming like this. And Iran's in trouble, because they're going to be the ones getting first invaded. Now, pushbacks and counteroffensives will happen, but at this point, it's in the favor of India, in the India subcontinent. With some of the Afghan rebels crossing the border with India's troops. Pakistan's troops moved into India when Pakistan fell are also on the front. And the rest, like Bangladesh's forces, Sri Lanka's, Myanmar's, Bhutan's, and Nepal's. Bhutan only recognizes 47 countries, literally. That's pretty impressive. They don't recognize China, Russia, the US, but at least they recognize Canada and India, at least. And India. Unless that's what I just said. I guess they only recognize some countries. As the encirclement of Tehran leads to the fall of Tehran. With a counter-offensive over here led by Iran to try to re-encircle it. But the problem with that was they failed at their goals to encircle. And they get pushed back pretty far. And well, India's doing well against Iran, and allies in the Indian subcontinent's doing pretty well. Pakistan and India being allies, that's never going to happen. With an offensive being done in the south to continue supply lines into the Persian Gulf, but it also fails. And with a stalemate being achieved at the mountains in Iran, and well, this led to this. With Iranian troops withdrawing, and then decide to withdraw to Saudi Arabia. With them being pushed out of the oil-rich region. Though then again, it doesn't really matter, Iran can function off of it. But the rest of its allies could have. With the invasion of Iraq happening. With a counter-offensive to liberate Khuzestan being made. To keep this oil in their hands. But one problem, it led India's subcontinent team, to have easy access to Baghdad, and they managed to take the city. And holding Khuzestan becomes too much of a task, so it starts falling. And even Kuwait, with an offensive being made by Saudi Arabia into Kuwait, with them now going into war-torn Syria. Along with southern Turkey. And while Turkey makes an offensive, kind of moves into these territories and over there, but Iraq then surrenders, which India uses to start an offensive of Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. And while in the Jordan front, they quickly start to take it over, with them now moving into Lebanon and occupying it, and then into Israel. And they advance here all the way to the Suez Canal to hold that front, and they decide the Turkish front is what they're going to focus on first, as probably weakest. Compared to India, well, yeah. India and Pakistan definitely could beat Turkey. Although that's impossible, because they wouldn't befriend each other to invade Turkey, because that would be in real life unrealistic, because that would mean NATO. With Turkey being basically cakewalked, so they agree to surrender. And well, now they cross to take out Egypt, with them taking the two major cities, Cairo and the other one, and they manage to go down the Nile, leading to the capitulation of Egypt. And they decide to land in Yemen for good measure, and with Saudi Arabia failing to kick them back on so many fronts, it becomes almost impossible for them to stop this front because they're at war. And this war is not going well on two fronts. And they land in Oman, quickly taking Oman out. And while they move into the UAE and they go around the areas that are impossible to get through. And well, then they move and take the coast, taking cities like Jeddah and Mecca. With them managing to take Riyadh and the coast, and then Qatar. At this point, Saudi Arabia surrenders. And every nation's formed into a puppet with no land gains. They'd be hired. Maybe they partition this land in the future after they puppet it all. when the alliances start falling, they probably perhaps decide to partition it, with Pakistan and India getting the most out of it. And well, that's pretty much all for today's video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Wild Mapper out, and Banan, don't you subscribe? Why should you subscribe? So we can get to 3,000 subscribers by December 25th. So please subscribe, because that's only 185 subscribers away. We're getting close to it. Actually, 200. Bye, guys!